Welcome one, welcome all to Rabbit Fighters, the podcast where each week three middling-aged dudes catch up on cultural touchstones that, for one reason or another, we may have missed out on. That's going to be what we do the majority of the time, I suppose, but there'll be some ample room for tomfoolery and cutting up. It's going to be pop culture, it's going to be film, it's going to be music, and whatever else crosses our little rabbit-fighting brains. I'm Joshua.
Hi, I'm Greg.
I'm Brian.
And we did it, guys. Update your LinkedIn profiles, because we are now officially podcasters. When are we quitting our jobs?
Finally quit my job.
So this week, we are discussing the Jerry Bruckheimer produced 2022 blockbuster hit Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick.
Which is the sequel to 1986's Top Gun.
What?
Why did we watch this? Why are we talking about it?
It's a sequel? I didn't know it was a sequel.
Little known sequel, yeah.
So the savior of the movie theaters post-COVID, apparently. So
Was it? Is that why everyone went and saw it?
I think so.
Right,
yeah,
everyone's back. Everyone's ready.
Everyone's back now.
Everyone's ready, man.
So yeah. So based on the premise of our show here, which one of us has not seen this or had not seen this film prior?
So that would be me. This was on my list of movies to watch based, I mean, purely on the reviews, the glowing reviews. And I believe both you, Brian and Greg, had seen it, but maybe had different opinions about it.
I saw it, man. I was like, because, I have a lot of, I was an actor for like 20 years, and I got a lot of friends that are actors and writers, and like,
do you know anyone in this?
People of quality. No, I don't know anyone in this. No, not that I know of anyway. But people of quality opinion to the most point. Where you're like, I trust this person's opinion, and like 27 of them or something were like, Top Gun Maverick is amazing. It's so good. I was like, what? It can't be good. It's like when I was a kid and Ghostbusters came out. I remember we watched the commercials, and everyone in my family was like, no way this movie isn't a piece of shit. It can't be good. Ghostbusters.
They were wrong.
They were wrong. We were like, the same thing with Maverick. I was like, no. So we didn't see it in the theater. I saw it streaming after their initial run, and like 27 people said it was great.
And so what was your final? Well, no, we'll get to that later. But
Brian, did you see it in the theater?
No, I didn't. I think I had every intention of seeing it in the theater. Because it's very, I'll say now, few and far between that I actually go to a movie theater. But this is kind of one of those like you need to experience this. And after seeing it again, now I watched it running up to this episode. Like I can see why that'd have been awesome to see a lot of the flight scenes and stuff in the big theater. But I think I want to say I watched it on an iPad or a plane or I don't know, something like that. Like in the most, like the opposite of how I should experience
exactly how they want to film this thing.
Yes.
I feel like you would have remembered seeing it on a plane.
Oh
Yeah, probably not. I didn't think. I'm just thinking small screen, so probably not my iPad or something. I was traveling. Maybe it was around like Christmas. I don't know, whatever. But I remember, it was streaming, or I may have even rented it or bought it or something. Like, wait, I didn't buy anything. I rented it maybe on iTunes or something. But anyways,
you suddenly noticed the pilot of your 737 is doing barrel rolls and shit. You're like, no.
He has a call sign.
He's trying to do the upside down thing where they flip each other off.
As a fan, I would say a very, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the original Top Gun movie. I know all the aviators and their Rios and all that sort of stuff. And not like I'm this huge, but I think it's one of those movies that you just have seen a million times. So you just watched it. But then this whole time I'm watching it now, I'm thinking, like, I'm just comparing it in my head and looking at like things like Rotten Tomatoes and just like, it's got like incredible ratings on the new one. Yeah. And a lot of them, comments being like, oh, it surpasses the original. The whole time I'm just comparing the two in my head. I'm like, does this really, and I don't know if it's really just like my nostalgia or like if this is really that good. So it was worthwhile to watch it again to sort of try to figure that out in my head. So I saw it a while ago, so I rewatched it, but now I have a fresh opinion of the film in my brain.
And then I took a crack at it.
Right? Yeah,
just watched it in 2 parts. I had to break it up an hour one night and another hour the next night. I couldn't make it through.
Just to emotionally absorb all the.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster.
The gut punches.
one VHS one night, the second VHS the second night.
Yeah, but before we get into that, let's rewind to the first Top Gun movie, which I have to admit I can't recall ever watching the whole thing all the way through. I'm certainly culturally aware of it. Many scenes come to mind. I was aware of spoiler alert. Rooster's death.
You mean
not Rooster? Goose's death. See, there we go.
Jesus.
Goose Senior dying. But beyond that, I really cannot recall anything about this movie.
That's crazy. I mean, I mean, I don't think the original 1986 film really needs any sort of synopsis or reminder of what happened to that movie, unless you're,
it's
Joshua,
it's the Tom Cruise. So it's like the Tom Cruise formula where you take a thing and Tom Cruise, and he's the best at it. So he's like, he was like top bartender in Cocktail. He was top car driver in Days of Thunder.
Did they actually fight anyone in the first one? Yeah, or was it all just trying to like excel at this academy?
No, they do it. They do at the end. They encounter some foreign MiGs, right? Some bogeys out there
from Grenada.
They don't really
Southern California.
They never specify who the country is.
The Grenadans.
Which is an issue in the second movie as well. But so
this
nameless, faceless enemy of the USA is out there with MiGs.
You got it now. Yeah, you can't name names, or the movie won't be popular in that country, right?
Although I did read that the symbolism on the jets of them indicated it was North Korea. So
huge supporters of U.S. cinema. Huge supporters.
Yeah. Well, Kim Jong-un probably is. He probably just sits there in his underpants, like watching U.S. movies all the time, and like snorting coke or whatever he does up there.
We're the bad guys again.
But in the most recent version, of course, I went down the aviation rabbit hole. But I guess they were saying there was only 2 countries that actually flew the F-14 Tomcat, which is the U.S. and Israel. Yet they still had them in the movie later. So it's the second plane that, towards the end that he's flying. But the 5th generation fighters was also saying that there's only one country that actually flies those, which is Russia. So it's a weird. So I guess we're led to. It's Russia is the
thumbing our nose at them like quietly.
Some Russia-esque rogue state in western part of the Pacific.
There was snow and it's cold. And
I gotta sidebar something for a second, because like this was the thing about Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, which kind of gave me hives. It was like when they were like, well, Tom Cruise insisted that all the pilots that flew, all the actors, like had to get real pilot training in a real plane, and they really shot the guys inside of a plane when it went upside down. They were in the back, and there was like, a real pilot in the front. I'm like, that is not necessary. Come on. Every actor, because what are they going to say? Tom Cruise is an idiot. All the actors were like, oh yeah, it really.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say that.
Added to the authenticity of me wanting to throw up while I was trying to perform. It's like, you could put these guys in a green screen, and they're actors. They could pretend they're in a plane going upside down, right? Can we all agree?
I don't know, man. I appreciate the authenticity of it. I mean, getting them in the jets and filming of their reactions and their facial. I mean,
to me, it was like Jared Leto, like getting into character to play the Joker in Suicide Squad. I'm like, he sent like used condoms,
scaring the shit out of all
to his castmates.
He's a method actor, okay?
Yeah, so like you get a used condom from Jared Leto, and you're like, boy, now I'm going to enjoy working with this jackass.
Yeah, I'm gonna report this to HR.
I don't know. I think it adds something to it, but I mean that's my opinion, I guess.
No, I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it, that it was like a technical achievement to make this film. Like the fact that they had to like put the cameras actually in the cockpits, and the actual actors had to be in charge of like turning it on, turning it off, the lighting that they had to like keep track of in order to get those shots. I mean, that couldn't have been easy, and I think it definitely like played well in those scenes, which in my opinion were probably the only scenes I enjoyed. So yeah,
Wait,
from like
That's
you're
it.
we're
like
getting a peek into
after I
your
watched it, I
opinion.
went down, like I read all about it, and I was like, that actually lends a lot of I don't know, like authenticity to it, and yeah,
Lends authenticity to this bullshit movie about it.
totally. That, like knowing that went into it in order to achieve those shots, because I mean, while I was watching it, I was like, it really, honest to God, looks like he's flying that jet. I know he's not. I know there's no way in hell they'd let him fly that jet. But then also he's kind of
No.
crazy, so maybe he did learn how to fly a jet.
Yes, and
So then finding
here's
out afterwards that they the lengths they went to make it look like he's flying a jet, I appreciated that from a technical aspect. But yeah, you're right. It's probably not necessary unless you want the
It's
movie to
totally
look
not
like
necessary.
episode one, just all green
Oh well,
screen.
yeah, but I mean, like, there are ways to do good effects and bad. I mean, like the original Jurassic Park. We saw it. I showed it to my kids a few months ago. It still looks good. It's from like 1992 or something. And then you watch like the first Harry Potter movie, and you
Yeah.
can. It's like him on a wire zooming around in front of a green screen playing Quidditch. You're like, this is freaking terrible. And it's like 20 years later. It's like 15 years later or something. So yeah, I'm like, the amount of money they put into Top Gun Maverick, they could do real effect. They could make good effects and like just have the actors in a simulator. I think they need to like risk their lives to
That's
play
not what Tom
Rooster.
Cruise wanted.
yeah, yeah.
I gotta play Sidewinder because I hope I don't end my life playing.
Although the Tom Cruise is like a pretty well known, like he's an accomplished pilot. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like, I doubt he's like, he's as JR said, he's in the jets per se. But I did read that the P-51 that he's in at the end, whatever, is actually his plane, or that he's working on, or whatever. So that's, I mean, I know he's a pilot, but
yeah, I got one of those.
Yeah,
too.
I don't know what's needed to.
I mean, he could be a heart surgeon, but it doesn't like he wouldn't need to cut open an actor in a movie to freaking prove that this is dramatic.
No,
we can fake this stuff, we can.
But I mean, isn't he well known for doing all the crazy stunts in Mission
Hollywood.
Impossible and all that sort of
He
stuff?
is. I think he wants to die, though. I've always thought. I think Tom
he just has a
Cruise-
death wish.
I do. I think he has a death wish. I think he hates himself and he wants to die, and he doesn't know how to do it, so he keeps trying to do it in a movie.
Boy, how about that Great Balls of Fire scene?
What a callback to the original.
What a callback.
I don't recall that from the original, strangely enough. Calling into question about whether I've even seen the first Top Gun movie.
And that's where I wanted to go with this. I wanted you to recount what you actually remember from Top Gun, the original one. Like anything?
It's really tough because I think I conflate Hot Shots with Top Gun so much that all of the scenes that were callbacks in Maverick, I didn't think of Top Gun. I thought of Hot Shots. Like when he's at the very beginning before he goes to the test flight thing, is like he's on his way, he's riding his motorcycle like as fast as possible. I have vague recollections of that, but it's from Hot Shots where he hits the speed bumps while he's going like 90 miles an hour, which 11-year-old me found hilarious. So there's not a whole lot I remember about the first Top Gun movie that I can attribute to Top Gun, other than Goose dying. There's the extremely homoerotic beach volleyball scene.
Homoerotic? Where did you get that?
Bunch of greased up, shirtless bros broing down on the beach, man.
I've never heard it suggested.
That's such a unique take.
Anything but very, very heterosexual.
Yeah. Dripping with heterosexuality.
I have to say for a second that I love that you love the Hot Shot movies because it's like the Monty Python guy's version of freaking Top Gun.
I don't remember those movies being very good. Was it Charlie Sheen?
The Hot
the
Shot
lead?
movies, they can't be good, right?
I mean, maybe we ought to do those as an episode because I'm sure they don't hold up very well. But
I bet
I don't
all
know.
those spoof. But I mean, something like
Those
Airplane
movies are
holds up
good.
well as a spoof movie.
But like
For
also,
the most part, but
Airplane does, but Mel Brooks, right? Like Mel Brooks content varies wildly in quality. Like Young Frankenstein versus say Robin Hood Men in Tights. I mean, it's like the same guy didn't even make those somehow. Like the Young Frankenstein and the earlier stuff is such higher quality, and then dude just phoned it in. So
no one's going to say
know.
no to Mel Brooks when he wants to make a movie.
I know. He's like, I've got a great idea. We're just gonna do Star Wars, but with like Yiddish references, and they're like, awesome. Great.
Everyone will get that.
The impression that
Star Wars.
okay, we're like maybe 20 minutes into this, and just Greg hates every movie ever made. This is terrible.
Maverick.
Yeah, that's right.
I like
Yeah,
this movie.
yeah. Greg is pro Maverick.
Oh, I thought you were
like-
anti. The
No,
best movie
I
ever
was
told.
pro Maverick. I said everyone I know we didn't get to that yet because like we wanted to keep some air of mystery, to the affair. I'll just say like I like Maverick. I thought I was shocked at how good I thought the movie was as opposed to how good I thought it could ever be. I thought it was gonna be terrible. I thought it was just gonna be like a shot by shot remake of the first movie, but like worse, And like they do callbacks to the first, this stupid piano scene. They get the football on the beach scene instead of the volleyball. It's like almost like a joke.
Straight up spliced in footage of Meg Ryan and Goose dying into this movie. Like that's way more than a callback.
Because they were like, oh, Meg Ryan is too old to put in the movie, and and so is Kelly McGillis. And we can't have like old ladies in this movie, even though Tom Cruise is like 61 or something.
Yeah, I will say that was like my least favorite part of the film was like, not maybe it's like I get it. You have to make a movie that maybe someone hadn't seen the original, so you have to keep harking back to the things, But it's like I feel like it was like gratuitous, and also it was just kind of like cringy a little bit because like even the dialogue was done the same, like you got the hot shot guy.
Oh my god!
Like Bagman, whatever his name is, Hangman. And he's supposed to be Val Kilmer. It was kind of the same thing. It was like he's the bravado, and it's like ugh.
Bagman.
That's what they called him. They called him Bagman.
Is the Bagman the guy that takes the money?
No, but
when
that's what they make fun of him in the early bar scenes, and they call him Bagman, and he's like Hangman. And like,
that's what it was. Okay, yeah.
Call signs in this one, I will say, were kind of lame as comparatively to the originals. But
I know, yeah, they ran out of good ones from the original because
I read they got 38
guys. 38 guys.
Yeah, they got to pick their own. One. So.
Oh yeah,
that's why Rooster chose his because it was in the same bird family.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
except for roosters don't fly.
Fanboy was pretty terrible. I mean,
yeah, that's terrible. But Rooster also gives me evokes the Alice in Chains classic of the 1990s, Rooster.
Great
about
song.
the Vietnam War. So I was okay with that. But yeah, I mean the call names were stupid. But like I don't know, man. I think there was nothing grounded about the first Top Gun movie. It's all like schmaltz cannon. It's like the t-shirt gun of movies where it's just like blamming t-shirts into the fucking crowd. And like the second one, at least it has some grounded stuff in it. Like, he has adult relationships. He has like a friend who isn't an asshole, like there's stuff going on in the second one where you see the character and probably Tom Cruise going through like some reflection on all the stupid shit that he did when he was younger, know.
Real world problems that we can all connect to.
Yeah.
More than the first movie.
Like flying Mach 10 and stealing aircraft.
Anything in the first movie is like him riding around a motorcycle, flying a jet, trying to piss off everybody,
This is the same plot. What are you talking about?
This one he's actually trying to help, he's actually trying to like whip people into shape.
Did you?
He doesn't want to kill Goose twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And him and Ice are like best buds, you know?
Yeah, that
So,
scene with Ice, man. That's a great scene.
that was really cool. I'm glad they got Val Kilmer to do that. Like that.
And like Tom Cruise fought for him to do that. People crap over Tom Cruise, and there's plenty of reasons to do so. But I will say this about him: that what he is hired to do, he does excellent work on every time. He's always hired to be some cocky jerk or some variation of a cocky jerk. Sometimes he's supposed to cry and be long-haired, sensitive guy. Whatever they hire him to do, he does it well every time. And he does this guy well this time again. You know, he doesn't make crappy Tom Cruise movies. They're all Tom Cruise movies.
What are your favorite Tom Cruise movies, Greg?
I mean, they're all kind of the same. Like, I mean, Magnolia is probably my favorite Tom Cruise movie, if you have to ask me, because that's an actor. It's such an actor movie, and actors love Magnolia, and I'm an actor, and I think Magnolia is great. A lot of people hate the hell out of that movie, but actors usually like that movie.
Shit, we're gonna have to add that to the list because I have not seen Magnolia.
P.T. Anderson,
Paul Thomas Anderson. Yeah, it's so good, man. It's so good. And Tom Cruise,
a lot of his stuff,
plays like a caricature of himself. Kind of, he plays like a self-help guru scumbag. But he's allowed to be like also, you know, a human being behind all that stuff. Probably The Color Money, because he's more of a Keanu Reeves style, like idiot hotshot. You know, he's less self-assured and he's kind of along for the ride. It's more interesting to me because he doesn't know everything all the time. So yeah, I'd say Color Money, probably Magnolia. I'm trying to think of extra stuff that he did where he's a little more interesting. So you can bring up his movies. Yeah, Rain Man's good. Yeah,
Risky Business.
Yeah. Risky Business, man.
Kind of his
that
first,
movie,
you know.
Legend.
You got to shelve Risky Business for all time. I think that movie is done. Never would be
he's
made.
in a movie that we should talk about at some point, which I absolutely love, but I know a lot of people do not like.
Which
is Eyes Wide Shut.
I never saw that one.
Kubrick's last film.
I didn't see that one.
Oh damn! Okay, it's been a really long time since I've seen that, but I did remember thinking it was pretty good.
And a lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was a fantastic Kubrick adaptation.
That was like Kubrick's last film, and their last film as a couple.
Did he make it and then die, or
yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like
I think he
part
died
of the way
before it was
through.
released.
There you go. Okay. That's why it was notable.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it did. He did not ever see the release of it.
That's an interesting one because there's a lot to unpack in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good too.
And Legend, one of the very early Tom Cruise movies. Him and Tim Curry is a Ridley Scott film where Tim Curry is like a devil. It's all fantastical.
Oh, okay.
Tom Cruise is like some little fawn who lives in the woods.
See, a hotshot fawn. A hotshot fawn who's the best fawn of all. He plays the pan flute like no other fawn.
Not going to play it by your rules. He'll only play it by his rules.
I think I've seen Born on 4th of July. I remember that being intense.
I didn't see that one either.
That's a long one.
That was his Oscar bait movie.
Yeah.
Where he's like reaching for the Oscar.
I mean, it's no Cocktail, but it's close.
Yeah, I mean, we could almost do an entire podcast series just on Tom Cruise movies.
The greatest of Tom Cruise.
Hotshot bartender spills more than he pours. Just booze flying over the room.
The bottle flare.
Everyone at the bar is soaked with like rum.
I'm curious, as you know, maybe I don't know how. I was thinking this whole time that I don't know why I kept putting the two together, but the mission where they have to go into the valley and then drop the bomb, the whole time I kept thinking Star Wars. Like they have to do some sort of like crazy run to put to shoot a missile into a very small target. I'm like, this is like a rip off of the Death Star.
I halfway expected them to make a reference after they did it, that they just blew up the Death Star.
Yeah, it was like, that just
great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
Exactly. I was like, what? This is kind of a Star Wars ripoff. But whatever.
And I thought it was really funny because the whole, like the beginning of it is like this. There's this underground, like this background story where they all are going to be like replaced by Drones.
AI.
Drones.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a government program that's to replace all these fighter pilots by drones. But the entire movie is an argument for why we need drones. Like
Exactly. No human should be involved in any of this.
none of it.
No.
Like, absolutely zero of it. Because a drone could have gotten it done in a second. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like if they were capable of shooting the Tomahawk missiles from the aircraft carrier or whatever support ship that was just off camera to blow up the airfield, they were more than capable of shooting just a barrage of missiles into the crater to blow up the uranium mining operation. Like it made absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. This is one of those movies where like it doesn't matter.
Don't
you know,
answer
like
that.
that kind of crap doesn't matter. You know, you're not supposed to think critically about that element of it. But like, you know, like I am a sucker still for sequences where like they can't get it right, and he trains him and he trains him and he trains him, and then they're in the room and he takes off and they watch him do it, and they're like, you know, it's like having an announcer. You know, it's like watching basketball with an announcer versus watching
He's doing
basketball without an announcer. Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh my God, he's doing it. And you're like,
Who is
them watching
that?
him. Yeah, exactly. Them watching him do it makes it more exciting. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm
Then
still a
they
sucker
pull
for
him
stuff
in
like that.
to ostensibly fire him, but it's like 50 points for Gryffindor. Like you just broke all the rules.
Yeah,
Oh.
totally. Yep.
But
I've
we
got
can't.
I've got a choice here to kick you out of the Navy for good. And nope, you're right to the top of the class, man. You're back into it.
Well,
And to Mr. Potter for breaking every single rule, and she should have been expelled 7 times. 700 points for Gryffindor.
I mean, but the theme is over and over again. Like that's the initial scene in like the first Top Gun, right? He does something, he buzzes the tower, does whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, I hate to do it, but I gotta send you to Top Gun. He's like, oh, fuck. Like, he should get like discharged 100 times and he keeps getting promoted.
Yep.
We'll give you the riskiest mission ever because you're such a daredevil.
Well, they have a good reason at least, because they have like, you know, Iceman covering his ass basically in this one. It's just like, you know, like,
Oh yeah. He
they're like you're
his
fired.
friends looking
Like they
out
do.
for him, yeah.
They're like, you're fired. And then he's like, freaking Iceman brought him back again. So like they can't fire him. They thought of enough stuff to cover it, you know, CYA.
Yeah. They made it, you know, that made it plausible, especially as a reason to bring Val Kilmer back. You know, that,
Yeah.
You know, he's gone on and succeeded and become an admiral, and you know, basically protecting his buddy. But
yeah, I thought that was cool. I thought Jennifer Connelly's character was pretty decent too. Like they had a decent relationship there.
Yeah, I guess that was believable, and they did have chemistry, and that was kind of I guess a high point of the movie, except for she gives the worst advice. Like, is she trying to get him killed?
What
Like,
is her advice?
When your romantic partner comes up to you and says, "I just lost my job," and it's done, like that's it. Her advice is like, "No, man, you got to do this is what you love doing. You got to get back in there." Like, but this isn't like fucking working at the factory. This is
flying a jet
into enemy territory on a suicide mission. Like the whole time, like so she's trying to kill him. Like that. That's
maybe
the
she's
basis
like
of the relationship.
Maybe she's like really attracted to him and like hates herself for being attracted to him, so just wants to kill him off somehow, so she doesn't have to have these conundrums.
Only if there's a chance he's not coming home.
Yeah. It's only hot to her if like she doesn't know if he's ever coming back to the. Then he comes back and she's like, "Oh, he survived. I guess let's have some torrid sex, and then try it again. Try killing yourself again."
What's another faceless country we can invade? Get in there, Tom Cruise. Get in there, Maverick.
It was.
But I mean, the movie made $1 billion, so I'm sure. Like,
how much did it?
I know.
Oh yeah, it definitely reached $1 billion. I think I saw that.
I was just throwing that out there. Really,
the first Tom Cruise movie to hit $1 billion.
Jesus. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about this earlier, but the pandemic. Everyone came out of the end of the pandemic like ready as hell to do normal person stuff again, and one of them was like going back into
seeing shitty movies.
a little dark box with a bunch of other people breathing in the same room for 2.5 hours. Put me in, coach.
Essentially 1.5 billion.
Jesus Christ, man.
It's a lot. But yeah, to your point, I think it was the first movie that I think made sense or people would want to go, right? Like to experience something.
Yeah. And
I still maintain that should have been Dune.
I was going to say, when did Dune come out, right? Because that was
the fall of 2021.
Well, and to Tom Cruise's credit, again, this guy is a smart businessman. They tried 4 or 5 times to get him to release it during the pandemic, and he was like, "No, you're not releasing this movie until it can play in a theater. I don't want to stream this fucking movie. We put all this money and effort and talent into this thing." And
but it got a theatrical release first.
It got a theatrical release first, and a ton of the money and the great press came from like everybody packing theaters to see this freaking movie. And he was right. It was an event style movie, and it got what it deserved. It got an event.
Yeah, the tagline at the bottom of Top Gun Maverick is absolutely terrific in every conceivable way.
I mean, I don't feel that way about
that's
it.
That's at the bottom.
It's good. I think it's
Eric
good.
Davis of Fandango says absolutely terrific in every conceivable way.
There's no critic anymore. It's always like, some dude at like somedude.com, they can put anyone's name under a movie and say
Rapid Fighter.
Incredible. So it's so deconstructed, the whole critical, pyramid of.
Yeah, I mean, what's the comparison? So what we're using Rotten Tomatoes as our barometer, 96% fresh.
Jesus.
For
that's
Top
kind of
Maverick.
Yeah.
I am out of touch with the kids of today.
Well, that's the critics side, right? And then the 57% for the original Top Gun from critics. I would have thought it had been higher than that. I mean, I like Top Gun, the original. Yeah, it's a popcorn film, but just so is this one. But I mean,
I feel like when it came out, no one had any context about how big of a cultural icon it would be. They just saw a brand new movie and said, this isn't very good. It's flashy, it's glib, it's full of like, unbelievable characters. But like
which one are you talking about?
The first
Top Gun?
The original. Yeah. So like it became this cultural icon because just everybody loved it. But critics, when they first saw it, critics were like judging it critically, like any movie. But like then it became this huge touchstone. So when the second movie came out, they had reverence for it. You know what I mean? Like that they didn't have for the first one. And so yeah, I think that's why you get that difference. Like
the way I read it is that enough time had passed that people, the original Top Gun had, passed into the zeitgeist and everybody knows about it, even people like me who can't remember ever actually seeing it. And so when the new one came out and people started giving it like great press, like I think that everyone was like, really? Are you sure? We're talking about the same Top Gun here? Like that movie can't be as amazing as you're describing it. Like there's no way. And so I think that probably drove a lot of the people into the theater is just like, really? Like just to check on this spectacle and make sure they're not crazy.
Yeah. It got me interested because again, like.
Yeah, I never would have wanted to see it except for word of mouth said, hey, this was a good movie. Also, I was in a Verizon store and I saw 20 minutes of it. I forgot to tell you guys that.
Oh, yeah.
It was on in the background and I saw a part of the jet fighting scene. So I was like, that actually looks pretty cool. Of course, the sound was off, but I was like, oh, I should probably watch this. I
just feel like it's one of those films that is like a must-see sequel if they do it for a generation in a weird way. Like it could have been a total piece of shit and I would have seen it. Regardless, right? Just because I have seen the first one so many times, and like you said, it's so quotable. Everybody knows it. It's one of those type of things. So it's like, I got to see it. I mean, I was an '80s kid, so it's like, whatever. But any of those movies that have that sort of, nostalgia to them, but it's like if they churned out another Alien movie, I'd see it. I mean, they keep churning out, but it's like I still see them because I'm like, I love the first two fucking Alien movies. So I'm gonna keep seeing Alien movies.
I just want one of them to be as good as the first two. Yeah.
You guys want to hear some trivia about Top Gun Maverick?
Do I?
I guess. No.
Too bad.
What's
you're
some
hearing
trivia? Sounds
All
like
right.
a segue.
So, top of the list here, Kenny Loggins did a re-record of Danger Zone for the film, but Tom Cruise vetoed it, insisting that they have to use the original. Which begs the question, where is this recording of the new Danger Zone that Kenny Loggins went ahead and just pre-recorded without any sort of authorization?
It's like,
did he show up at Tom Cruise's house and was like, I had a recording, this is gonna go in the movie?
here it is. Top Gun, Top Gun. Kenny, I think we're gonna have to go with the original one. Really?
You gotta assume it's one of those situations where they were like, "Hey, let's cover all our bases. Let's see what old Kenny's doing. Dust off the song and redo it for the new film." And then they heard it. They were just like, "Original's good." Stick with that.
I mean, I went on Spotify to try and find this recording, see if it ever got released, and it did not.
It's like the enthusiastic croakings of a 78-year-old man. I don't know what it could sound like. He's like grandpa, like extreme grandpa.
I do feel like he's like 80s movies royalty, though, right? Like, 'cause he got Footloose, Top Gun, Caddyshack, like the intro to Caddyshack.
Yeah.
He's done a whole
all right.
Yeah.
He did Footloose?
Yeah.
Like the theme song to Footloose?
I think so.
Wow.
He did, yeah, of course.
This is a storied career of 80s movies.
That's what I'm saying. He's a 80s legend.
Everybody cut Footloose.
Well, this ain't the 80s, Kenny Loggins.
No, or is it? Or is it?
All right, here's another one. Miles Teller was cast in the role of Goose's son, Rooster, beating out the likes of Nicholas Hoult and Glenn Powell, who I had to look up all three of those.
I don't know.
Nicholas Hoult plays the Emperor of Russia in the TV series The Great, married to Catherine the Great. If you saw his face, you'd know who he is. And then Glenn Powell actually plays Hangman. All three were flown to the home of Tom Cruise for chemistry tests. Powell was later cast in the movie.
Sounds ominous.
Hold on. Powell was later cast in the movie in a role beefed up for him, having impressed Cruise, producer Jerry Bruckheimer, as well as executives at Paramount Pictures and Skydance with his audition. So all three of them were flown to Tom Cruise's house for chemistry tests.
Shut the door.
I really want to be a fly on the wall for that. Like, what? That's got to be really intimidating.
I think Miles Teller pulled it off. I guess I didn't really see it. I guess when you throw a mustache on him, then I guess it kind of maybe you throw a mustache on anybody. But I feel like he was a passable,
Yeah,
I didn't have a problem with him.
I like him as an actor. Oh, he's Miles Teller, Whiplash, and
Whiplash. I haven't seen it.
Was it War Dogs? He's been in a lot of.
I haven't seen it. First time. I think it's the first time I've seen him in anything. I couldn't recall.
Oh man, you haven't seen Whiplash?
I have not. Maybe it's got to be on the list.
I have kids and they're younger, so like all I see are like kid and family movies. It like first run now, so like all the new movies that I know, I was able to show them Top Gun Maverick because I was like, it's vanilla enough that I can show the kids, and I showed it to them, and they were like, it was okay.
I thought it won Best Picture.
Oh my God. Miles Teller was in a remake of Footloose in 2011.
Oh, what? Next he's going to do the Karate Kid.
We've gone full circle.
I don't want to put it on the list.
He's in Willow. He's doing a remake of Willow. I'm Mad Mardigan in Willow. Willow 2.
Now I got to make sure I'm not wrong on that. I know it was nominated. I don't know if it won.
What, Top Gun? Maverick?
Whiplash.
I'm still on Whiplash.
Oh, yeah, Whiplash. I know nothing about it.
Anyways, that's a great film.
Let's add it to the list. I think I did. Is Whiplash the one about the drumming?
Yeah, he plays a drummer.
Okay, yeah. That's been on the list for a long time. But I'm like Greg, I have kids, and the only movie I've been to like in the theater in the past 5 years was Dune. And so I've definitely fallen off on the number of movies I've checked out.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. J.K. Simmons is in it, and it's good.
I waited for everyone to go to sleep, and last year and watched Jaws in the movie theater when they re-released Jaws. That's about the only adult movie that I've seen, and
that was almost a pick for this episode, wasn't it?
Jaws, freaking Jaws.
All right, final piece of trivia here that I got. So the film was actively supported and influenced by the United States Department of Defense and the United States Navy to present the U.S. military in a positive light and aid in recruitment and retention. The U.S. Air Force also ran recruitment ads before the film screenings. This led some critics, journalists, and scholars to criticize the film as propaganda, which exciting propaganda it was. I definitely felt like running to my recruiter office after watching this movie.
Yeah, no interest in that.
It made
it was very, very thinly veiled, which I think is my feeling of the first Top Gun as well, which definitely was made to shed a positive light, especially in these times with recruitment in the military being down. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are, I live in the South now. Like, they go to all the high schools and recruit people. It's blaming a movie, blaming Top Gun for, like, sucking people into the military. I don't know. I don't feel like it has a major impact on people who would never have gone into the military.
Well, I grew up in a military family, moving all over the place as an Army brat. So I feel like I have loads of experience of like what that sort of culture is like. But I did at one point in my 20s, maybe this is a story for another podcast, but I did at one point in my 20s attempt to join the Coast Guard because I wanted to make maps. So I showed up at the recruiter's office and I just asked them I want to make maps. Like, what's your cartography program like? And the recruiter, obviously had never been asked this question before in his entire life. In his entire, not much older than my lifetime. It was just like, we get all our maps made by third parties, like externally. I was like, well, thank you for your time.
He's like Grandpa Simpson going in the door and out the door.
He's like, you get to shoot cruise missiles at forget it. Doesn't care.
Get the bus truck runners.
I'm going to go find the outsourcing company and apply there. Thank you.
All right, so this feels like a pretty good place to wrap it up here on the old inaugural podcast. So let's do a real quick round table. How are we feeling about Top Gun Maverick?
Should Brian go first?
Whatever rating system you subscribe
to. Okay, oddly enough, I enjoyed it more the second time I saw it than the first. Like, I remember the second time I watched it, I was like, you know what? Okay, this is better than I thought. I don't know why I thought that, but aside from some like dialogue stuff, like I was still into it. The second watch. I guess maybe I had forgotten a little bit more than I thought I did, so I'm glad I rewatched it. But I enjoyed it. I think it was good. Popcorn film, yes. Like but I think it did what it was supposed to do. Like as far as like sequels go, not that I'm like this huge fan of sequels, but 25 plus years in the making for it to come out in a sequel, like I wasn't disappointed. I mean, to the greatest point, did it need to be made? I don't know. Probably not. but was I going to see it? Yeah. But I think they did it, justice. I thought Tom Cruise was good at it. And I thought all the action sequences were fantastic. So, if I had seen that in the theater if 14-year-old me saw it in the theater, I'd be pumped. So I thought it was good. I know we don't have an official rating, but if
you can't quantify that.
B+, solid B+.
B+, yeah.
I would reserve A's for films that I think were
excellent,
a little more to whatever. But I mean, for a B+ for an action movie, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's say you, Greg.
I'd say for me for any movie, like me seeing any movie mixing genres and all that stuff, I would give it a B+ as like a movie on its own. For a genre movie, for an action movie, I would give it A-, maybe even an A. For being an action movie, I think it does everything right, and it is what it's supposed to be, like I've seen crappy action movies. They're supposed to be thrilling, and they aren't, and they stink. This is like, it's entertaining. It's got good characters. It's got an interesting plot. It's got an insane mission, which is, they're going to pull off, but like, it's interesting to see how they do it. It's got good interpersonal workings. I like the scenes with Iceman, Jennifer Connelly. That stuff is still even pretty interesting. Yeah, like overall, I think for what it is, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. So like, I think it's an A as an action movie.
I think that's where I landed, because I did expect it to be really good based off of what everybody had said and all the press and stuff. I think the first half of it was terrible. It was completely unbelievable. Dialogue was so choppy. No real human beings talk to each other the way they talk to each other. The second half of it,
big complaint.
the second half was I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed all the dogfighting. I thought all the actual aviation sequences were really well done and really interesting. The mission itself, I thought, was compelling. Again, like you were saying, Greg, like the way they pulled it off, you knew they were going to do it, but the way they did it is where the real action is. I thought that's where it really delivered. And so the second half was much, much, much better than the first half, up until the final scene where Tom Cruise is working on his plane in the hangar, and Jennifer Connelly sends her daughter into the hangar to say hi, and then she's like out there leaning against a Porsche, and then I was like, "Nah, this is an F." Like, you can't. Who would do that? Who would just lean against your Porsche and send your child into a hangar to go get your love interest as like a surprise? That completely lost it for me at that moment. So I'm going to give it an overall a C minus.
I love that you're judging.
If Jennifer Connelly doesn't show up in a Porsche at the end, what does it get?
Oh, like a B minus.
Why is it so important?
Yeah, it was so cheesy. It was so over the top, egregiously bad. I felt like that had no place. If they just ended the movie with him like them hanging out at a diner or something like that, I would have been like, okay, cool, this is closure. This is great. Their life is good.
Well, maybe we'll revisit this one if we ever do Top Gun, the original.
It's unforgivable. It's unforgivable to me that happened. Overall, I give it a C minus. Big drop at the end.
I'd say that about wraps it up for Top Gun.
That wraps it up.
We're all just going to blast off into the horizon.
I have my reasons. All right. Well, with that, then that's what we got for Top Gun Maverick. And
I really wish we had the ending that Top Gun music right now to play us out. But...
we'll add it in post.
All right, guys.
All right. Well, then we'll do this again next week.